Hello everybody and welcome to another Vincent Vision. This is our Halloween Horror Nights first impressions house review video, scare zone review video. Our video where we're gonna get to talk a little bit more about our initial feelings for this year's event. Now, we did go on opening night. We have a video all about that. You should definitely check that out if you get the chance. We are now at home. This is our opportunity to hang out here and go kind of house by house and street by street and share our thoughts with you guys. Elson is here with me for this video. We are gonna have lots of fun. Let's jump right into it. We should mention that this video is just our initial thoughts on the haunted houses, okay? It is not final. The great thing about this event is it changes all the time, and I'm sure that our opinions at the beginning of the Horror Nights season is going to change completely by the end of it. We have, this is the most nights that Halloween Horror Nights has, which is like 40 something.
And just as a warning, this video will probably more than likely contain spoilers.
Yes.
So if you want to be surprised if your visit's on a later date, maybe just go ahead and skip it until you go yourself, and then you can form your own opinions.
Yeah, and thank you to Attractions 360 for letting me use their haunted house footage in this video. It really does help a lot. You guys are the best. Like, you really are. So, without further ado, we're going to talk about our IP haunted houses, and I think we should talk about the most popular one right off the bat, Stranger Things. What did you think about the Stranger Things haunted house?
Personally, I really enjoyed it. I think it really covered the last episode of the 4th season very well. I loved having Eddie on top of the trailer with Master of Puppets playing, and even like the little snippet of running up that hill.
I thought it was just kind of okay. There were a lot of moments from the show, but not in a lot of the ways that I kind of wanted to see them. And not enough moments, too. Like, I get kind of what the haunted house was trying to do, where you're kind of being chased by Vecna, and they tried to keep to that storyline. But there were other parts from season 4 that I thought would have been really, really scary as, like, a Horror Nights maze. When Hopper has to fight the Demogorgon in the arena in Russia, I thought all that stuff would be super, super cool.
I didn't even think about that. I honestly completely forgot about that. Like I said, it really nails that last episode.
Yes, a lot of it feels like the sort of final moments of that last season. It's gonna be the most popular house of the year easily, and I think you're gonna want to see it. It is a cool house. There's a lot of big rooms in this haunted house, which I think they've done a really great job with, and it's so cool to see all these different characters from this very popular show. Vecna is super cool, shows up a bunch of times. I think though this year has a lot of really strong houses and a lot of scarier haunted houses. This one is definitely more for people who just like want to feel like they're in the show versus like a scary haunted house experience. Stranger Things is such a big draw for Halloween Horror Nights, and this is going to bring a lot of people to the event that wouldn't normally do Halloween Horror Nights just because they want to see Stranger Things. So I think in that way, this house is really, really great for those people. Next up on the IPs, it's probably the second most popular, or maybe the first, depending on how you look at it, Last of Us.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Last of Us for me is kind of a little sleepy, I gotta say. It was a big house. It was really long and it was super detailed. I think it's definitely the most like detailed haunted house. Like a lot of love went into the sets, the costumes, all of that kind of stuff. I didn't really get scared in the haunted house, and it felt like everything was like really far away from us. You know what I mean?
And now you're saying that, I kind of do see, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I would say this was personally my most anticipated house. I loved watching Vincent play The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. There weren't very many moments that I got scared, but that also could be because I was just so amazed with all of the performance and like the mask.
I definitely spent a lot of this haunted house just like trying to look at everybody.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to like look at the clickers and see how well they looked, and look at the Joel and Ellie and see if they looked like them in the video game. And it was a cool house, and it's a good house for sure. It's definitely like in my top 5. I don't have a particular order right now just because we've only been for one night.
And it's really hard.
Yeah, and it's really hard too. Yeah, this is a really, really solid year. I think they kind of like, it feels like they kind of know people want to just like look at everything.
Yeah.
There are some scare moments. There's a part in the middle of the haunted house where you're going through tight hallways and there's like clickers, like the clicker part of the haunted house kind of in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
But the rest of the house is a lot of big open spaces. And there are some cool parts, like a big bloater comes charging out at you and stuff like that. It's a cool house, kind of sits in the middle for me right now. Next one up is Universal Monsters.
Personally, it was not my favorite. This one is in the mid-ish to low tier for me. Definitely not the worst, but also not the best. There were a lot of one particular monster. It was the Phantom.
There's a lot of Phantom in this house.
I would have loved to seen the other monsters go into play, but what kind of bumps this one up personally for me is those last, I would say like the 2 rooms where we had like the Hunchback of Notre Dame literally kind of like fall into the line of people from up above. And then at the very last, it was like all of the 4 monsters came out.
There's 4 monsters in this haunted house, and they don't share the screen time. There's a lot of Phantom in this house. But I actually really enjoyed this house quite a bit. I've always loved all of the monster houses. I think this one is maybe not the strongest of the monsters houses, but it's still really good. I wasn't super impressed with like the setting of the house. It felt like a lot of hallways and not really big scenes, but the performers are what made this scary, and they're all very intense. All the costumes are super cool. The Phantom looks so scary. The Invisible Man is iconic. The Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is like this big Hulk monster. All of that together, they've done a really great job at, once again, making all the Universal monsters very scary. And I think this one, just like the Mummy, Dracula, Wolfman house from last year, I think the performers are what sold this house and what made it so high up on the list for me, because they made it really scary. Because last year was just a bunch of hallways, Egypt hallways. You know, you're doing the tunnels, but the Mummy would pop out, Dracula would pop out, and it was all scary. So I think just on scares alone, this is a house that I really enjoyed, and I think it's only going to get better from here. The next IP haunted house is The Exorcist Believer, and I think I can speak on both of our behalfs and say that this was one of the most unexpected houses for us that night. It was pretty freaking scary.
Yeah, they did a really great job. The ones who play those little girls who get possessed, they did a phenomenal job as well. One scene I thought was really cool was how they did the one room, and as they were doing the exorcism, and then how it flipped, and it was just because that same room reappeared again, but it was all red, like a very red.
And it was really scary, you know, for a movie that we don't really know anything about. I thought we went through that haunted house pretty scared, and it actually kind of did work, where I was excited to maybe go see the movie when we were done with the haunted house. If you were someone who wasn't maybe going to do all the haunted houses because of time reasons or whatever, and thought about skipping this one because you didn't know anything about the movie, don't skip this one. This is like, you should definitely try to see this one. It was really good.
All right, and I think that leads us into our last IP.
Yes, Chucky, Ultimate Kill Count. This is the 5th IP house. This is at the Fast and Furious building, and this was the last house that we did of the night, so we were a little tired, but I think we could probably say this is right now our least favorite haunted house. Unfortunately, I mean, we like Chucky, we like the idea of Chucky, but the haunted house was just so weird. It's too meta. A lot of it was like based off the show, which none of us had really seen. We only saw the first episode. So and there was TVs all throughout the haunted house showing up these kills, and
he was like trying to talk to you,
and you couldn't hear him, and it was like, it was strange. I mean, you got a lot of Chucky in this house, which is cool. Like, I was kind of like, oh, how are they gonna make Chucky? Is it gonna be a person dressed up as Chucky? Is it gonna be this, that? A lot of it was puppets. You know, they'd have big puppets that kind of pop out at you and stuff, which is really cool, and like they get tons of points for creativity on that. There's one Chucky at the beginning too, like that's kind of sitting there, and it was like super detailed. I was like, this is like a Chucky from the show or something. It's super well done. But I don't know, it was weird. I didn't really get it. Chucky, I think right now for us is on the bottom of the list, unfortunately. Now we're gonna get into the original haunted houses. Is there one that you'd want to talk about first?
I would say I would like to talk about Dueling Dragons first.
Oh yeah, Dueling Dragons, Choose Thy Fate. This is probably the most anticipated haunted house for a lot of people, including myself. And I liked it. But it's growing on me. We went a second night. We just did one haunted house, and that was Dueling Dragons, and I liked it much better the second time around. When we first did it, I was like, oh, okay. It's cool. It's a cool haunted house. It's not the scariest, but it's a cool haunted house. There were rooms in the haunted house that were just like the queue for the ride. Done on a much smaller scale, obviously, but still certain things that you'd go, oh my gosh, look, it's that thing. You know, it was cool. Not enough dragons though. I was kind of expecting this to be a house like Chupacabra last year, where there'd be a lot of puppets.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, yeah.
Like there would be big puppet dragon heads or something like that.
Well, I did notice this the second go around, and I didn't notice it the first. So like right after like the spell book, and you see that light up, if you look around in the hallways, you can see the scales.
Yeah.
And there are like little dragon.
Yeah, you see the scales, and there's an
arm
that comes out that's like a dragon claw. I was hoping for
dramatic.
big, dramatic dragon heads and a big, at the end of the haunted house when you like choose your fate, which is a really cool element. I was kind of hoping that like, I don't know, like a big dragon head would pop out and like shoot steam at us or something. Like, we got frozen to death by the dragon. You know what I mean? Or fired, burned to death and stuff like that. But it's a really cool house. It's a really unique house idea. So it gets a lot of love for that.
This is such a love letter to Universal fans.
Yes.
Like if you've been going to Universal for a good chunk of your life and you got to see that land in person,
you're gonna love it.
You will love this.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I cannot wait for the Poseidon's Fury haunted house that they are eventually going to make. Mark my words. I'm saying this on camera so that I can get my rights. Fingers crossed. But I bet you anything. Let's talk about the haunted house that was next to Dueling Dragons, which was Yeti Campground Kills. This one was I think just okay. It was pretty. It was very scenic. There was a part I really liked that you kind of go by the lake. I don't know if you remember that. But that was really cool, and going through the different campgrounds was nice. And it had its scary moments, like the Yetis are really big and menacing, and they get really close to you. I think in this house, stuff gets really close to you.
Yeah, they're very big.
I found they're very big and close. But it was just okay. It was also very like dark too. It all felt like I was kind of going through the same rooms and stuff like that. Some of these other haunted houses have different scenes where it's very obvious you're like going through different places and different settings.
To be a devil's advocate, you are going through the campgrounds. They're all gonna look pretty darn similar.
I mean, you're right. That is true. But I remember in previous years, you'd have like Yeti Terror of the Yukon, where you were going through the camp and there was snow, and then eventually you ended up in the Yeti's lair and you were in ice tunnels and this and that, and that kind of does happen. At the end you kind of go through like the forest and it's like storming and stuff like that, and that was cool. But this one's kind of just like, it's not any particularly strong feelings for this haunted house. Last one I think at the sound stages we have not talked about is Bloodmoon. Dark Origins. What do you think about Bloodmoon?
I definitely thought that was the most aesthetically pleasing house. It is very scary. The very last room, you kind of make an L shape to exit, but they're all of people with the cloaks on. And in my mind I was like, oh crap, I need to get out of here because this is gonna scare the crap out of me. So I literally was like, gotta get out.
I thought Bloodmoon was a really, really good mix of beautiful scenery. I think it is this year's Dead Man's Pier, where it has some of the most impressive sets. And I also thought it had a lot of scary moments. Now, it wasn't scary all the way. I'm never super scared when it's just people in robes kind of coming out at you, and it's just a lot of regular people popping out of the corners, but it had a lot of cool tricks, like the church where you go down the aisle and there's people seated. I think this one, just on the beauty alone, it makes it really, really high up on my list, and I really, really enjoy this house. This is one that I would do every single night if I had the option, if it wasn't 100-minute waits, which I don't think it really will, because I think it's gonna have a lower wait just because of, unless it gets the Dead Man's Pier effect where it becomes really, really popular and people know about it. But I think for a lot of people, this was a haunted house that maybe wasn't super high up on their list. I know it definitely was not on mine, and it is completely, unexpectedly shot very, very close to the top. Really great house, Bloodmoon. Definitely a must-do. I think we both really, really enjoyed it. Yeah. The next original is The Darkest Deal. And this was a haunted house that I really, really liked the concept. I think it's a really cool story. Unfortunately, though, I don't think it really lended itself that well to a haunted house. I mean, I really like the Pine Straw Spruce and the Collector character. You see him a lot in the haunted house, and I think he looks cool. I love that sort of devil character that takes your soul and stuff like that. But I don't know, this one was just okay for me. It's kind of on the lower end right now as far as the houses that I enjoy and I'd be excited to do again.
I think I might have enjoyed it a little more than you. The only reason I say so is because I feel like I got a lot of good jump scares in that moment. I feel like I always get like the timing that's like a little off, where I turn around to see them, or it's like it just happened to the person before me. But like,
and that's the beauty of Halloween Horror Nights is, right? You know, I can go through a haunted house and not get scared once and go, oh, well, this wasn't really that great. But if you go through the haunted house and they're popping out at you every single time, you're gonna really, really enjoy that haunted house a lot more. And I think there were some very clever scares in this one here. There were a lot of clever effects too. Like there's a scene in the haunted house where the collector takes his soul and you see his chest light up. I think in general they've done a really great job with effects with performers this year, because Dueling Dragons was like that too.
Yeah,
where they had like light up chests and stuff like that. Yeah. So like there were a lot of cool effects in that way. But you know, it was okay for me. It was okay for me. It's something I'm gonna do again. And I like the story a lot, but I think the house itself I'm kind of like not too strong about.
I definitely think this one, out of the whole bunch, for me, definitely has the potential to get better throughout the...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then, last but not least, is Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. And this one, for me, is one of my favorite haunted houses this year. It is the Icon House. This is our Dr. Oddfellow house. I think with the space that they have in those little tents, which is not a lot of space, I think they've managed to make what feels like a really long house. It is so... busy. It feels like there's so much stuff going on in there to look at, and just like it's super well themed. I really couldn't feel out where I was going and what direction I was moving in. This really felt like a twisted fun house, and you got to see Dr. Oddfellow a whole bunch of times, and there was a lot of really good scares. I really enjoyed this haunted house.
I was gonna say there was also a lot of nods to Jack the Clown.
Yes, Jack the Clown references.
Before you officially entered, there was like a wanted sign. So if you right before you go into the house, check out the right hand side, and there's like a wanted sign before he is in his Jack the Clown form.
Yes. So Jack fans are gonna get some love here. You do see Jack a couple times in this haunted house. Not a performer or anything like that, but there are references hidden throughout. You just have to be on the lookout for. We're not going to give them all away.
This one kind of got me in moments. There's kind of like one, like you're walking through like the makeup room, and there's like these little like almost clown animatronics sitting in the seats.
Yeah, that's
that's
super memorable. You're going through the makeup room, and the clown's heads turn, and it's they're automatic, and it's very spooky, very weird. People are definitely gonna, this is not a good house to go through if you don't like clowns. But yeah, I really enjoyed this house. This is one of my favorites. This is one that I'll try to do all the time whenever I go to the I think this year, the strongest suit of this year are the houses. Really strong year for houses. They all, for me, all kind of hang out in the same tier, you know, with the exception of maybe like Chucky, kind of down there at the bottom, unfortunately. But all the other ones are all kind of hanging out on the same level. For me. Some are a little higher than others, you know. Some are a little higher than others, but they're all very strong. And I think the houses this year are really the big specialty versus the scare zones. You know, we saw the show Nightmare Fuel, and it was cool, but it was very similar to how it's been in previous years. The houses are really strong this year. It's going to be a very busy year because of them. And I would say for me, overall, this is a pretty great year. This is a really great one. We've got an icon that people are going to really enjoy. We've got really strong houses. We've got some relatively solid scare zones. There are other things that are happening as well, like the Peacock Bar with David Pumpkins. There's a Megan's that show up. We haven't seen those yet. Death Eaters in Diagon Alley. So it seems like almost like we're kind of getting more than we've ever gotten for Halloween Horror Nights. There are some things missing that people love, like the Lagoon show. You know, there's been a Lagoon show in years past. I don't think we're going to get anything like that ever again. I think they've done a good job with filling in the gaps, and it seems like there's a lot more than ever to do this year. And I think because of that, this year gets a 2 solid thumbs up from me. I really enjoyed this year. I'm very excited to keep on going, and I would totally recommend it if you are on the fence about visiting Horror Nights this year, which, like, why would you be?
Why are you watching this channel if you're on the
no,
that's me.
No, that's saying, right, why are you watching this? Well, I guess you're watching because you're on the fence. But anyway, that is all we've got. We hope you enjoyed this review video. Thank you for watching. Please, if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe for more Universal videos like this. We're going to get on out of here. We're going to head home. Wait a minute. We're already home. Wow. Gotta love home vlogs sometimes. Thank you guys for watching our initial thoughts on this year's Halloween Horror Nights, and stay tuned for more videos in the future. Bye-bye.